I have basically like just dislocated my kneecaps multiple times, and then one of the first times my kneecap actually fractured and broke in half. So I had to have a surgery where they basically just like cut my knee open and then put the two pieces together using screws. And then at the same time, because my ligaments and like tendons were so stretched because of like all the dislocations, they like cut them and like moved them to the right areas to
Okay.
stabilize my
So this was like directly your ACL as well?
yeah. Started, my surgeon said that it probably started with like an initial like partial dislocation, and that just happened when I was like walking. Like I think I just like stood up and I just heard this weird like click and I fell over and like my knee, it was weird. It was like I like couldn't get back up and I was just like lying there, and then like a month later I was playing tennis with Mr. Byron and I like turned to go hit the ball, like plant and twist, but my foot kind of like stayed where it was and my knee turned, so that caused my kneecap to dislocate. And then either on the way in or the way out, it like sheared off the bottom half. Yeah. Honestly, like the most I can remember is it's just like every time it's just like one big crack, and I think like the sound stays with me the most because it's like one big crack and then you're down and you can't get up and you're just like lying there. I wanted to have the surgery that night because the piece was so big and it also had cartilage on it and it was just like floating around in my knee, but my surgeon was like, it's way too swollen because it was so inflamed. It was honestly like that big. It was really gross, and so we had to wait I like went in the next afternoon.
Oh.
I don't know like the name of my surgery in medical terms, but the name of my injury was a patellar osteochondral fracture. And what they did was they made like one huge incision like right along my knee, and then they didn't know where the bone chip was. So they had to like flip my kneecap over, find the piece, and then reattach it because it sheared off the bottom. So then they put it back and then reattached it with like biodegradable screws. And then so they flipped my kneecap back over, and then like my surgeon ended up moving around like a bunch of like ligaments and tendons, especially because they were like so stretched, they had frayed. So we like cut them and like put them back to their original like size and stuff. And then yeah, I think like he said that after I got the surgery, they kind of like mentioned how it was really irregular to have a surgery like that because it's so like it's unusual for a knee injury to be so invasive. They usually just, I think it's called like orthoscopic, like they just go in with like a camera and tiny instruments, which was why another reason why like my recovery, like my personal like rehabilitation was like a lot more intense than usual, was because the surgery was so intense. So last time I saw my surgeon, he said probably because so my left knee after the original surgery and the really bad injury, like it never redislocated, like I never really had an issue, but my right knee I've dislocated twice, and because of all like the tearing and like the stretching of the stabilizing ligaments and tendons, my surgeon was like, odds are it will happen again, and after 3 dislocations we tend to like consider surgery, and so most likely. After the surgery, like they basically put me in this huge brace where I was like completely immobilized. I wasn't allowed to put weight on it. I couldn't bend my leg. It was like completely still. And so I was in that for like 6 weeks, I think. Yeah, 6 weeks. And then because of that, I lost so much muscle, and the scar tissue had built up around my kneecap, so I couldn't like bend my leg. So for the first 2 months, it was just about regaining mobility. So I would just go to physio, and they just like bend my leg for me because I couldn't bend my leg, and like try and break down all the scar tissue. And that took a really long time, and that was probably the most painful part. And then afterwards, it was just building up muscle because I like lost everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you do your rehabilitation?
It was like this physio place I was referred to by my surgeon called Kids Physio, and yeah, I've been going there a solid while. After being immobilized maybe like another month, so I guess like 2.5 months after the original injury. After the surgery, it kind of just kept happening. Like, I ended up dislocating my other kneecap twice. And one of the times it, like, stayed dislocated, so I had to go into emergency and they had to relocate it, and that was really brutal. But, like, no, I never got back into, like, tennis or, like, running or anything. Just because, yeah, it just kept happening. And then,
So did you have a lot of like hesitations going into sports
yeah,
and stuff?
definitely. They put me on really heavy medication because, like, recovering from a kind of surgery like that was very painful, and I was, like, not, even, like, from the original injury, they gave me, like, pretty heavy medication. I think I was taking Tylenol 3 and extra strength Advil. Tylenol 3 with codeine and extra strength Advil, like, alternating between the two together. So, yeah, and also, like, I guess, like, yeah, scar tissue, and just, like, my knee in general was super swollen, and that kind of inflammation stayed throughout, like, for a couple months, where it was just, like, incredibly inflamed. Like, it was, like, my leg, like, my thigh and my calf got really thin, like scary thin, like, I looked like I was, like, starving, and then my knee was just like a football because of all, like, the inflammation and stuff. The most significant one is, like limiting physical, like, the limitation of my ability to participate in certain, like, physical activities, like, especially, like, high impact sports that require a lot of turning or, like, planting and twisting. Like, some of the ones, like, tennis or soccer or stuff like that, I generally, like, my surgeon was like, you should consider staying away from, or, like doing a lot of physio beforehand, or stretching, stuff like that.